Hello folks, and welcome back to the ourwebsite.com. In our last tutorial we covered themes and how to add and delete pages to your website. We also had a little look at page layouts and we talked about headers. In this third tutorial we are finally going to start actually building our website. That is, putting things onto a page, laying them out how we want them, and filling in all the content that we want on our site. The first thing to know is that all web pages are made up of building blocks called elements. These elements can be anything from a piece of text to an image or a slideshow or even a video. Each individual one of those is called an element in web design. In Weebly, we add these elements to our pages one at a time using a drag and drop interface and gradually arrange our website how we like it. So once you're in the editor section of Weebly, make sure you click the build button at the top. This will make sure you have the right options in the left hand pane. Now you can see elements as highlighted here, and so you've got all the different types of basic element in this left hand pane that we can add to our website. For this lesson we're just going to be concerned with title and text, the two main text based elements. To add an element to Weebly, all you do is click and drag the element down onto your page where you want to place it, and we'll pop that there. There you go, and that's our title element now. At the minute it doesn't make much sense, but we can put whatever we want in there. Once we have an element on the page, we can start editing it and adding content to it. So now you saw I put a title element on my page. Now if I click where it says click here to edit, I can type title 1. Okay, it's as simple as that. If you've ever used a word processing program or anything like that, you'll know the basics of how to add, edit and style text. So we'll say this is the main title. Now once you already have an element or two down on your page, any more that you add, you'll be adding relative to your existing elements. Now I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we grab another title from the left hand pane and we drag it in, now you see this blue line. This blue line shows where I'll shove the new element relative to the one that's existing on the page, the one that says main title. And as you'll see, the blue line moves as I move this new element around. So the blue line is now below the main title. So if I let go, there you go, and you see it's popped my new title underneath the old one. So if I now call that bottom title, I can't type. Now if we drag another one out, and you see the blue line is now above these elements, and I've shoved one in the top. So we call this top title. And then click outside your elements to save them. This is a good time to mention that Weebly saves everything you do as you do it. So as you drop elements down, it'll save it and it will now look like that whenever you next log in. I could log out and log back in now and these will still all be saved. So you never worry about having to manually save. It does it for you as you go along. You can keep stacking elements on top of each other like this basically forever. Weebly will just keep expanding the page downwards to accommodate all the new elements that you put down. We can also do the same left and right. So if I let's grab a piece of text actually this time. It's a slightly different styled element. Now if I bring that down, you see I can pop it in between these elements here. I can put it above or below. The blue line shows where it's going to go. But I want to put this down to the right, so I'll put this to the right of the main title. Now you see that blue line on the right there? That means I'm going to slip this in to the side. So I let go. And you see what it's done there? It's squashed that up and it's put this next to it. So whenever you put elements side by side, it splits the page into an extra column. Or at least that section into an extra column. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll say this is some text. Okay, and now you see there's this little divider between the two. I can reposition the columns and resize them however I see fit. And I can keep splitting the page up into subcolumns. So if I add another text and I add it to the right of the text I already put down, I've added a third column there. So I can say this is third column text. Okay, and I can make this one a bigger column if I want to, and we'll just copy that text. And you can see that this column's bigger. Okay, this is not a very good looking page, by the way. I want you to make your page look better than this. This is just an example for now. So you can keep adding elements above and below each other and side to side until the cows come home, basically. What you can also do when elements are already on the page is move them around while they're on the page without starting from scratch. So if you hover over an element here, like our third column text, you'll see this little bar here. If you click and drag this bar, I can now pop that element out, and I want to put this below everything, right down at the bottom. Okay, so you can move stuff around that's already on your page without having to start again. If you decide you don't like any of the elements that are on your page, or you want to start afresh, you can delete them simply by hovering over it and hitting the X. Once you have a lot of elements on the page, this sort of thing can get fiddly, but just take your time and you'll get there. So hover over it and hit the X. So let's clean up this page a little. Okay, that ought to do it. Once we have text elements on the page, how do we change the look of them? Well, there's a few ways we can go. First of all, when you're actually inputting text, you'll see this bar pops up. Now this is your go-to style bar. You can bold text, italicize it, underline it. These plus and minus arrows make text bigger and smaller. Oh, okay, I just deleted that. This is text. And this drop down menu here is for coloring text. So we've colored some text red there. This little icon here creates a link. We'll go into that in more details later, but this is how you can link to other sites and link to other pages within your site. And then you get the usual text justification options, blah blah blah. I'll let you mess around with those yourself and figure them out, but they're pretty self-explanatory. What you will notice is that there's no font option in this little bar, because you have to change the fonts in a slightly different way to how you maybe expect it. To keep your site nice and consistent, you change the fonts on your site based upon element type. So it's probably easier if I show you. To do this, we go to theme first of all, because remember, theme is the style template for our site, and fonts kind of come under style. So we go up to themes, again in the editor section as usual. And before we clicked on change theme, that's to change the whole template. But we don't want to change the whole template, we just want to change the fonts that are used in the template. So if we go to change fonts, and here we go. So these are the different element types. Okay, so we can use different font types for different elements. If you hover over them, you'll see what will be affected by your changes. So remember, we put those two titles down. If we hover over paragraph titles, you'll see they're highlighted. We click on those, go up to the font selector here, and now we choose a different font. Ta-da! The great thing about this is we can make site-wide changes in the blink of an eye. Rather than having to go through one element at a time, changing each title so that they're consistent, we can simply do it here, and if we don't like it, we can revert back to default without having to go through elements one at a time. You can also change the color, the size, the style, yada 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 here. Paragraph text will change the plain text element that we put down earlier, and you get some of these others here. I'll let you figure those out yourself as you go along. They're fairly self-explanatory, but that's how you change fonts. Like with everything we do with Weebly, everything is easy to revert, everything is easy to fix. So for now, don't be afraid to experiment, mess around. You can't really break anything too bad. The worst that can happen is you mess up your page and you don't like it. Just delete the page, remake it again. Everything's so fast in Weebly that you can redo anything in seconds. So for now, before you move on to the next section, I want to make sure you've got a home page, and I just want you to put some text down on it. It doesn't have to be a lot, just maybe a title saying welcome to whatever your website is, www.examplesite.com, welcome to the site. And I also want you to put some text down explaining a little bit about what you hope the site is to be about, and maybe change a couple of fonts, mess around with some text styling, and get used to clicking and dragging elements from the side onto your page and positioning them where you want to. Once you've got a page down with a bit of text and a little bit of styling, you're ready to move on to the next lesson, and we'll start working with images. As always, if you get stuck and you need any help, either use the contact form on my website, www.the8hourwebsite.com, or go to our Facebook page and leave a message on the wall there. Okay, see you next time.